Hey guys, this is going to be chapter 5 of Ecclesiastes. We've got Solomon here giving us some great knowledge. We learned about Solomon, that how God had intervened, so to speak, or gave him his riches to lead him on the path that he was. And when Solomon had found God and that there was vanity in riches without God, then we see him start changing, and he wrote this beautiful book. And like where we see where they're talking about vexation of spirit in chapter 4. Vexation is to chase, and the wind, okay, that's emptiness. It's chasing dry wind, and you're not going to get nowhere doing that. You know, and you work all day for stuff, and you don't profit. When we don't get satisfied with those things. So, chapter 5 here, and what this book is teaching us, you guys, all these chapters are how to look at things. I've always got a lot from this book. It's always been one of my favorites. Vanities and worship and riches, chapter 5. Keep thy foot, keep your foundation, where thou goest to the house of God. Keep your discernment, you guys. Know what you're there for, to give praise to God, that you are a humble servant, and be ready to hear more than to give sacrifice of fools, for they consider not that they do evil. It's silly, and here this word, it's stupid, that word fools, and it means they do vain things to be seen, and everything else that you guys know about. Be not rash with thy mouth, and let thy heart be hasty to utter anything before God, for God is in heaven, and thou upon earth. Therefore let thy words be few. That means God's leading in spirit and stuff, you guys, and you know, like, God doesn't want some big thought out prayer. That's not from the heart. He wants to hear your love. He wants to hear real, not some forged, wrote out, documented letter to him. That's fake. God is in spirit, so we worship in spirit. For a dream cometh through the multitude of businesses, and that's your work, and how you're conducting it, in God or not in God. Are you doing things in happiness and enjoying it? Or are you doing things in, I don't want to do this. It's all your choice. And a fool's voice is known by multitude of words. They like to do a whole lot of talking and what they know, and this and that, but they don't do any walk. Verse 4, when thou vowest a vow unto God, defer not to pay it, for he has no pleasure in fools. He doesn't like stupidness. Pay that which thou hast vowed. That means he has like vain thought. He doesn't like emptiness, putting it in that way, to where like vain, empty promises. Oh, I'm going to do that, and you don't do it. He's saying, I'd rather you just say you're going to try, you know what I mean, and fail. When we want to promise God things, basically that's all it's saying is, don't make promises you can't keep. You know, if you're unsure about it, why did you vow to do that? You know what I mean? That's not what God's looking for. He knows. And it's kind of like we step away from knowing God's there. So it's just a nice little reminder. So when thou vowest a vow unto God, defer not to pay it, for he has no pleasure in fools. So we'll put thought in everything, okay? Verse 5, better is it that thou shouldest not vow, than thou shouldest vow and not pay. Verse 6, suffer not thy mouth to cause thy flesh to sin. Because, see, our bodies are going to tell us things, you guys, and like addictions and little things like that, and habits. That's part of our flesh is in there. So we always got the flesh spirit battle going on, so you know that. So your flesh will try to trick you. Remember that. So keep true with God and put thought in it. Can I really do this? Should I really tell God that I'm going to do it? This little things, you know what? And if you do make a promise to God and break it, it's not the end of the world. He's going to forgive you. But see, it's Solomon's wisdom trying to give us that heads up here. And it says, neither say thou before, or suffer not thy mouth to cause thy flesh sin, neither say there before the angel, before that Holy Spirit, you know, I'm going to do it. Because sometimes you'll be in the Spirit, but, you know, don't let that Spirit overtake you in the sense, I know it sounds weird, but to where because it empowers you, and at that time you feel like you can do anything, and then later on, here's your flesh working on you, and then you're like, oh, and you don't go through with your promise. And then it makes you feel bad, and Satan goes to work on you, put you down, and say, ha, you failed, you lied to God, and he'll do a number on you, believe me. So the Holy Spirit there, and then wherefore should God be angry at the voice and destroy the work of your hands? Because also, like when we set off in promises, it can turn into where it goes into something else. Like, I promise I'm going to do this, and you can turn it into an obsession. You can turn it into just so many different things. That easily from taking God out of your life, out of spirit, slipping for that minute. For in the multitude of dreams and many words there are also diverse vanities, but fear thou God. And the beginning of wisdom is to fear and to love the Lord, right? And this diverse vanities is futility abounds. And it's just like in verse 3 where it says about the business, I did tell you that. That's like your activity or your effort of activity there. So we got all these different vanities that can come from this. But as long as we love and fear God, knowing that God can have our that second death, our soul to perish. He loves us, but that's what the beginning of the wisdom is, to fear and to love God. Verse 8, if you see the oppression of the poor and violent perverting of judgment, what's not right, injustice in the province, marvel not. And that's the time we're in. At the matter, for he that is higher than the highest regardeth, and there be higher than they. That these things are going to happen, and we do what we can to stop it, but there is judgment day. So remember, vengeance belongeth to the Lord, but at the same time we stick up for ourselves and others, and we're not a second-class citizens. Verse 9, moreover, the profit of the earth is for all. The king himself is served by the field. And that's by the workers, by the world, and what you put in it is what you get out of it. And what it's saying is everyone's got their place, even down to the servant, all the way to the king, because there is no king without the servants, and so forth. Verse 10, he that loves silver shall not be satisfied with silver, nor he that loves abundance and increase, with which is also vanity. And that's just to stack things up for the point of stacking them. Hey, look at everything I got, and it becomes vanity by you just looking at that pile. It becomes an addictive habit of increase. And that's to love that increase, to do anything for it. Suffer everything else. When goods increase, they are increased that eat of them. That's what is good of it. And what good is there to the owners thereof, saying and beholding of them with their eyes? See, they just want the volume there. They're not eating of it, partaking of the gain in the good way. It's just to see the volume. The sleep of the laboring man, and that's the rest, and laboring is the work you earned and put in it, is sweet, whether he did eat little or much, but the abundance of the rich will not suffer him to sleep. It's more and more, problems, and if you got all that money, am I helping the right people? Am I investing in the right spots? Is this going to do that? Should I have done this? What should I do with that? So, it's more money, more problems thing. 13, there is a sore evil which I have seen under the sun, namely riches kept for the owners thereof to their hurt. And this is coming from Solomon, which had everything in the world, as you guys know. So, some very good advice. It's to our own hurt when we keep and we stack things like that. And verse 14, but those riches perish by evil travail. He begot a son, and there is nothing in his hand. There's no power in it. It brings misfortune. You'll trip yourself up without any Holy Spirit. You'll work for the world. You'll love the world. And that is where you try to get your peace from, and that's what he's telling us. And it can be a great blessing for people to have things, but at the same time, it becomes a great cursing. And we've got a few more verses in here we're not going to be able to cover, so we'll have to continue this on the next one as we go into chapter 6. Thank you guys for studying along. See you on the next one. Bye.